What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another edition of the Crazy Face Uno podcast, where everyone has a story and everyone's story matters. What's your story? If you would like to support the show and help us tell more stories like the one you're about to hear today, please visit crazyfaceuno.com to purchase items from our online store or to donate if you so choose to do so. As always, I'm your host, Shane McNeely, and boy, are you in for a treat today. It is my honor and privilege to introduce my guest today, Ronai Brumett. Welcome, Ronai.
Hi, Shane.
How are you today?
I'm good. Thanks for having me on the podcast.
Absolutely. Thanks so much for being on the show. I appreciate it. I know we had a little mishap last week, and somehow I messed up, or I don't know what happened, but we had a timing thing, and I thought it was supposed to be on Monday, and here we are. But we made it work.
We did.
Yeah, so I told you, I'll introduce you, and it's kind of interesting how we met. It's not something we've only met a couple times, really. The first time we met, my wife and I went to a health and wellness. What was it, like a
expo?
Expo, yeah, at the Minneapolis Convention Center, and it was just something we were like, oh, let's go check it out, and we met you there. You sell doTerra essential oil products.
doTerra essential oils, yes.
And here we are. I'm not even getting the names right. I always called it doTerra, so I guess it's good to get corrected now. I've been saying that for years.
It's Latin, do meaning gift, and terra of the earth, so it's gift of the earth.
Cool. There we go. That's even more information. That's awesome. Yeah, and so we met you through that, and you invited us to kind of come to one of your like a talk and kind of like what do you call it?
An educational workshop.
An educational workshop, and we came, and man, we've been buying from you ever since, and that's been probably 3 years at least.
Yeah, I think it's been about 3 years. That's awesome.
Yeah. So I've been an advocate and been someone that's been using the products for a while, and I thought it'd be really fun to have you on and to be able to kind of tell your story. You have a really interesting story just in and of itself, and how you got involved, and how the doTerra products. Did I say it right? doTerra?
Yes.
Okay. doTerra products have enhanced your life, I guess, and been something that's been really beneficial for you. And so why don't you just start us off and kind of tell us a little bit about yourself now, and we can go from there.
Well, so I am a doTerra wellness advocate. I'm also a certified essential oil coach. But that was not the career path I started out on. So it's kind of, I'll take you back a little bit, and then we'll come to present day. How's that sound?
Sounds great. Yeah.
So at the time, 7 years ago, actually October 15th, I was in a car accident. And I was rear-ended. At the time, I was a sign language interpreter. I was a distance runner. I was 2 weeks away from running my 11th half marathon in 3 years.
Wow.
I was working out 3 to time.
Your 11th half marathon. Wow.
I had just scheduled my first full because I was like, okay, I'm going to commit to a full marathon. But I was rear-ended, and I went from being very physically active to not even being able to get off the couch by myself. My husband had to like gently roll me out of bed. I couldn't move my neck. I had a 4-month-long headache.
Oh man.
Month and a half.
Were you diagnosed with like a concussion or anything? Or?
Yeah. I had a concussion and whiplash. And that first month and a half, they had put me on some pretty heavy duty painkillers, but then they cut you off fairly quickly.
Yeah, right.
And they tried some muscle relaxants, which just made me not able to function.
Yeah.
At the time, I had 4 very busy teenagers. My kids now are 24, 22, 20, and 18.
Nice.
So this was 7 years ago, and it was really hard to function. I was going to the chiropractor 3 times a week. I was getting deep tissue massage once a week, and nothing was helping. I was just in pain. I couldn't move my neck. And my friend, I was complaining on Facebook because, that's where we complain. And my friend said, hey, try these oils. And I was like, Rebecca, I love you. I trust you. I will try your voodoo hippie witch doctor magic.
Yeah. And that's like honestly, that's like what people think a lot of times too, whenever you're like, oh yeah, essential oils. And you're like, but trust me, they work. Like,
well, and that's what it was. I was like, oh, but I'm not buying it every month. I'm not selling your crap. I really didn't. I was so desperate. I just needed some help. And so I was like, okay, let's try this. And I got stuff. I opened it up. I'm rubbing it on my kids' feet. My husband's like, what are you doing? I said, I don't know. Rebecca said to rub it on your feet. Like, I had no clue. And she said, did you roll the past tense on your neck? And I was like, Rebecca, I don't know. There's like oils and it smells and it's weird. And she said, okay, I can see you're overwhelmed. So tomorrow morning, get up first thing in the morning and roll some past tense on your neck.
Yeah.
And at the time, I was still interpreting at church. I couldn't work as an interpreter, but I was volunteer interpreting at church, which was really difficult because when you can't move your neck, it was not easy. The other thing was driving was a joke because I couldn't turn. But I rolled them on my neck. I went out, got in my car, and I went to look backwards, and my neck turned. And I was like, whoa. And then I sat there for a second. I was like, oh my gosh, I don't have a headache. Because when you live with a headache for 4 months solid, and then all of a sudden you don't have it, it was like, whoa. And so I called Rebecca. I said, what is this stuff? She goes, I know, right? And I said, no, like, you don't understand. I can move my neck and my headache's gone. She goes, I know, right? I said, what is it? She goes, it's love in a bottle.
That's a great way to put it too. Like, love in a bottle.
I was like, oh my gosh, you big hippie. Like, I just want to know how it works. And so that's what led me on this journey of researching and studying and learning the science behind how all of this works.
Sure.
Now, on a fun note, past tense, that blend was actually formulated by Dr. David Hill, who formulated it for his son who had migraines. So it truly was love in a bottle.
Oh, that's cool. I didn't know that. That's interesting. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it was designed specifically for migraines.
Yeah. It's interesting. I was actually able to share this information with Dr. Hill. And part of this was when you are in so much pain, and a lot of people didn't know this, but I actually was in so much pain and I wasn't thinking straight that I was in a deep depression, and I thought that everybody around me would be better off without me. And that was just like, it felt like a fact. Yeah. So you always think about people who commit suicide as like the most selfish act they could ever do, when actually it's the most selfless thing that they could ever do. Because they're just not thinking clearly.
Yeah, yeah.
And so that's been a huge part of my journey too, because I was in that dark space where I just felt like this huge burden. And having that pain lift, all of a sudden my thoughts cleared, and I was able to share with my husband, hey, just so you know, this is what's been going on in my head. And he was like, why didn't you tell me? And I was like, I don't know. Like, I just thought that was normal.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah. And we've had a few different people on. My last guest, today is Tuesday and I posted on Monday, and I don't know when we'll post your specific podcast. So if you're listening, but you can go back and check out one of our previous podcasts, and it was Elisa. Her father and brother both committed suicide, and it's she went through a lot of different things. Her father was abusing prescription drugs, and different things like that. And so we've talked to her and some other people about mental health and those different situations as well. So it's fitting for you to kind of bring that up and mention that in particular about that mindset. And I know you're talking about, essential oils and that mindset, but I guess I just kind of had that like light bulb moment of, you're right. It's one of those things where, the pain and the different things, it's like you feel you have an altered state. Your mental health, your mental like image of your own self is completely different and changed and skewed to what like other people see you. Perspective. I've talked a lot about perspective on the podcast, and Man, that's just interesting. Sorry, I had this like light bulb moment and needed to talk it out.
And that's so true, because what you see on the outside, what you see on Facebook, what you see on Instagram, it's what people are letting you see. So my husband had no clue. He just knew I was in pain.
Exactly.
But he didn't know that, like, the only thing I couldn't figure out, because I knew my family would be better off without me, this was the chemical imbalance in my brain.
Right.
But what would traumatize them would be actually finding my body.
Right.
And so I couldn't figure out how to in my mind, help them with me being gone without traumatizing them. So thankfully, when that brain fog lifted, I was able to like reach out and say, hey, honey, this is what's been going on in my head. You kind of need to keep an eye on me.
Yeah.
And he was like, of course, you know, so, and we have in our family, we have a lot of history of mental illness, and it truly along this journey with learning about essential oils is how to help chemically balance, because depression, it's all a chemical imbalance, and it's about feeding your body nutritionally, and that's what the essential oils have helped us do, is to feed our body nutritionally to balance. The other thing is getting toxins out of your home. So this is what I teach now, is I teach people how to use essential oils to feed them nutritionally, to reduce their toxic load, to reduce and manage stress. And what's funny is when I teach a class, I'm like, oh, these essential oils won't cure you of anything. And people are like, I thought that's what you were going to teach me.
Yeah.
Like, that's what I thought this was about. And I'm like, no, what they do is they feed your body nutritionally. And when your body's nutritionally fed, your body heals itself.
Which makes sense. Yeah. I mean, it's those imbalances like you mentioned. Yeah.
So, past tense literally saved my life. And I love being able to share that and all of the oils. We also have nutritional products. And I mean, it's a whole lifestyle, really. And so it's changed our life and our home dramatically. And I love that I get to help other people do the same.
Yeah, that's so cool. That's so cool. What is so you started off, you got introduced through past tense, and were you using other essential oils at the same time?
No, I had never actually even smelled an essential oil. Okay. At the time, I was taking a lot of over-the-counter stuff. I was taking so much, I'm not going to name names, but I was actually giving myself an ulcer from pain relievers and inflammation reducers. And I have not used a single over-the-counter medicine over 6.5 years.
Whoa, that's crazy.
Which is fun. Yeah. Because I'm allergic to cats, dogs, all outdoors. I have 3 bulging discs and nerve damage in my neck from the car accident. But I am able to manage all of my health issues using essential oils.
Wow. That's really neat. It's funny because when you meet people that have been using essential oils and, kind of, I don't know what a better way, like consistently maybe is the best way to put it. I was gonna say religiously, but consistently, both probably equal. But you hear a lot of people say the similar things. Like, well, I haven't been to the doctor and I haven't had to, use any of these. Like, I've stayed healthy and I've stayed well. And man, I've really noticed that in and of myself when we first met. And I know you'll probably get into this one when I told you before we got going, I use On Guard every day. So that's one of the essential oils. I use the beadlets, so I take the beadlets every day. But when I first met you, I was getting back into, or I had been I'd been working in schools in special education, and I was sick a lot. There was the first year back, and it's probably after I met you, before I met you, I mean, but I had like strep throat, I had the flu, I had all these different things, and I just started taking the On Guard beadlets, and I had kind of used my own, like eventually bought the little gel caps, and would mix my own little potions or whatever you want, concoctions, and I just noticed.
When you do that, I just have to ask, when you do that, do you kind of have, I told the witch doctor I was in love with you,
right?
You're mixing? Like, that's, okay.
Yeah, exactly. At least my wife's probably singing that, because she she was more on the skeptical side of things, and I was like, well, why not? Like, let's give it a try. Like, worst case scenario, like, it smells great,
Yes.
kind of thing. That was like my thing. It's like, well, worst case scenario, we've got some stuff that smells good that's maybe more expensive than, a candle, but hey, it's cleaner, whatever. But I noticed right away, and I've had, man, when people around me in my classrooms, different teachers and whatnot had been around me, and they were all sick, and I had avoided that. I think I only got sick like one time in the last like several years that I had been using doTerra products, and that's like my like quote success story with doTerra has been like, man, the On Guard beadlets and using On Guard. Now my wife and I both use the On Guard roll on for like blemishes or cuts or scrapes, and it's just amazing how quick you like see healing, and it takes the pain away, like the infection, like if you get a little cut or a paper cut or a nick or whatever.
Yep.
Even like hangnails, it's awesome for hangnails. We've just noticed those, and that's like been one of the big things that we've continued to use. Is I don't know, I don't go to the doctor a lot anyway, but if you don't even need to, it's been really beneficial for me.
Yeah. So a couple of things that I need to clarify really quickly. When using essential oils, the only ones that I can truly recommend are doTerra, and that's because of the purity and quality and potency of the product. I have had to research all of the different brands out there. So my certification as an essential oil coach was not through doTerra, it was through the Essential Oil Institute, and they gave us guidelines, and they said, make sure you research different companies. I am just lucky that I started out with the best company, and I continue to research it because there's another big company out there that people were with, and they got kind of caught with their pants down on some integrity issues. And I want to make sure that that's not happening with doTerra. So like I said, I continue to research them.
Well, and that's because they're certified pure therapeutic grade. Is that correct?
Yes, which there are 4 different grades of essential oils out there. First, there's perfume grade, which is processed rapidly at high heat, destroying all therapeutic value. This is what's in perfume. It's what's in your laundry detergent. It gives it a smell, but there's no therapeutic value. In fact, there's chemicals and pesticides in them. There is food grade, which is GRAS, generally regarded as safe by the FDA, and it's good enough to ingest. There is therapeutic. The problem with therapeutic is there's no global standard for therapeutic. So when you get a bottle of therapeutic, I literally show this in class. I have a bottle of essential oil. It's lavender, and one that's peppermint that I got from the store. And it says 100% pure essential oil on it.
Okay.
When you, first off, the FDA only requires that 25% of it actually be what it says it is. The rest of it can be a filler. Interesting. That's kind of a problem.
Yeah.
And when you smell the difference, like you can literally smell the difference between the two oils. The other thing is, like with the peppermint oil, it says for aromatic or topical use only in this store brand. But I can grab a peppermint leaf and I can eat it. Why can I not ingest that essential oil?
Right.
With doTerra's certified pure therapeutic grade, you can ingest most of them. Some of them you don't ingest because, like, we don't eat the cypress tree, right? So you're not going to ingest a cypress oil.
I haven't been eating any cypress trees lately, so.
So I just wanted to clarify, when we're talking about essential oils and their healing properties, the only ones that I can truly suggest are doTerra essential oils.
Yeah, which makes sense. And I've just pulled up one of my, I grabbed some of my oils, and on all of them, I'm assuming all of them, all the ones I have, it says the CPTG, certified pure therapeutic grade, right on the container of the packaging.
And what's even better is there have been scientific studies that have been done now. There's a really good one by Roseman University. It was just published last, I believe, April in Molecules Journal. And it shows that doTerra's oils are the best out there. So it's kind of cool.
That is cool.
But you can Google Roseman University doTerra and the study comes up.
Okay. Are there other, have there been other studies? I remember in your little workshop, You had kind of mentioned a couple different studies, I believe.
Oh,
you had
so many.
referenced. Yeah, cool. Are there any that stick out to you, or that you would?
There's a really good one on PubMed about On Guard supporting your immune system, since you had mentioned On Guard a couple times. But there are not, like, if you think about the flu virus, there's not an antibiotic that you can take for the flu virus.
Sure.
But it shows that in clinical studies that On Guard stops the replication of the flu virus within your cells.
Okay.
So that is a really cool
So it's
thing,
almost like it aids your body in defending against.
Yes. So when you get a virus, your body, it gets into your cell and it mutates your cells. And what On Guard does is it actually, On Guard gets into your cells and protects it and stops the mutation, and then goes back and fixes anything that's been mutated. So like you get a virus and your doctor's like, well, it just needs to run its course, which means your body is allowing, like, the mutation is happening until your body can catch up and fix it. But what On Guard does is it supports your immune system to fix it faster.
Gotcha.
Or if you're using it prophylactically, which is what I do, I put On Guard on my feet every night and every morning also.
Sure.
Then it protects you, especially if you're around schools with the little germ factories.
Yeah.
It protects you from possibly getting that virus.
Gotcha. Cool. Yeah. I'm a truther on that for sure. I've just seen it myself. I've just experienced that. The craziness of, like, there's so many people that are sick. You know, I've been like coughed on in my face by people that have been sick, and like I never got sick, you know, and all the teachers around me, all the people, like, it's rampant in our school or whatever throughout the years, and just being able to stay clear of that and to avoid some of that has been, I don't know, it's a testament, I guess, and from my opinion of using this. Like, that's the main, you know, I've changed my diets, I've changed my lifestyle in some ways, and but I mean, this is one component to that I think has been, I contribute to the support and the help of my immunity. So
right, there's not like, I get people all the time who are like, well, what's the one essential oil that's gonna, like, fix me or whatever. And I keep having to tell people, well, it's not just essential oils. It is exercising, eating right, drinking enough water. That when people say what oil do you use for headaches, when they say what oil do you use for headaches, my first question is, how much water do you drink? Because that's generally a hydration issue. So it's more than just, here, this stuff smells good. It is actually doing good things in your body, but you also need to be doing all the other things, getting enough sleep, you know.
Yeah, absolutely. It doesn't mean you can neglect your body. It means this is an aid in helping you, do the work that your body is made to do.
Exactly. And then a lot of times what I'm teaching about is pain and mood management, right? So when you are talking with people, or if you're looking on social media, inevitably something will come up in a post about, like, hey, this really hurts, whether it's physically or emotionally.
Sure.
What's really cool is the oils that help for one also help for the other.
Yeah.
So all dis-ease that is happening in your body typically starts with a trauma that happened in your brain. You know, whether it was an emotional hurt that happened will affect somewhere else in your body. Yeah. And do you know how aromatherapy works?
I was going to ask you to kind of explain that. I know a little bit, but I don't know.
So aromatherapy
I've got you here,
works.
so this would be the right time to get a little clarity on that for sure. Like, I don't know enough to, like, speak about it, or, you know, to really, like, speak to it. But.
So aromatherapy works because you have an amygdala. Your amygdala is your emotional center. You actually have two, one for each side of your brain, and it's about the size and shape of an almond. The fastest way to the amygdala, that emotional center, is through your olfactory senses. So you breathe it in, goes to your amygdala, down your pituitary, your thyroid, your parathyroid, your hypothalamus, and your whole limbic system goes.
Nice.
And that's the technical term, the big breath.
Yeah.
But what it's doing is it's calming your limbic system. Your limbic system is in charge of sending out all of the hormones, whether it's cortisol or serotonin or whatever. And so you can control that a bit by using essential oils. Like I have some really fun technical terms. You need an exogenous messenger, which means something coming from outside in to stop this feedback loop that we are in.
Okay.
So it used to be fight or flight when, we were being chased. Your body would kick in some cortisol, you could run faster.
Yeah.
But now we've created these stressful situations in our lives, right?
Yep.
So whether it's work or home, and what's happened is your body starts kicking out cortisol, stops producing serotonin. 80% of your serotonin is produced in your belly. When we're stressed out, we start having belly issues. So your belly flora is now off. And so your body can't actually produce the serotonin. Your opiate receptors shrink. And your cortisol receptors say, I need more, I need more, I need more.
Yeah.
So you actually start creating your own stressful situations to feed your own cortisol addiction.
Anxiety.
Yep, exactly. So if you can use an exogenous messenger, something coming in from outside to interrupt that feedback loop, you can start to calm down. And then you have to get your belly flora right too. So there are, we have an amazing probiotic. Most probiotics you buy from the store are not double encapsulated, so they break down in an acidic system. Your upper GI is acidic and your lower GI is where you need it. So I suggest you have a really good probiotic like the ones that we have at doTerra. We start getting your belly flora right, your body can start producing serotonin again, your opiate receptors regrow, and you can get out of that stressful feedback loop.
That makes sense.
You didn't know you were getting a ton of science today, did you?
I love it. I love the science. I love I love health and wellness and science. So I'm digging it. I'm taking notes. I got my pen here, so no worries.
Awesome.
I'm a little bit of a nerd when it comes to that in some ways. So I love learning about the body. And I was actually, this means really nothing these days, but I was a nursing major my freshman year of college, and so awesome. I was inundated with a lot of the science and the anatomy and biology, and so I don't know, it's always been an interest of mine, I guess, is health in the body and wellness, and so
it's funny, I was a theater major, so I didn't pay attention to science at all. And now I love the opposite way. Yeah, I love the geeky science stuff that I am able to learn and to share. And a lot of times people are like, can you just break that down into normal words? I'm like, okay, you don't want to learn about monoterpenes or sesquiterpenes. Got it.
Right. Exactly. Well, okay, fine. I'll use but it's fun to use the big words. That's half the fun.
It makes me feel like a big smarty pants, which is awesome.
Yeah, exactly. So you started, if we go back, you started using the past tense. What did you do after that? What were you immediately sold, or were you just
Oh, I was sold because I had been doing so much for 4 months and nothing would touch the pain.
Yeah.
And so thankfully, the friend of mine who talked me into using oils had also sent me a really good book called Modern Essentials. Okay. And I like that one. There's also one from oillife.com called The Essential Life. But essentially what she told me, she's like, here's this book. It has all the instructions in it. And then kind of left me to my own devices, which was good, actually. So my husband, I bought this kit because, of course, I'm all about value. So I bought a kit, and my husband's like, you spent what on what? And I'm like, well, but Rebecca said it can do everything. And he goes, are you really going to use it? And I said, do you trust me? He goes, of course I trust you. So I took everything out of the medicine cabinet and I put it in a box and I put it in my basement because, well, I was pretty sure I was going to need it. Yeah. But I figured I needed to prove to my husband that I really would try this first. Right. And so the kids would get a cut and I would go to the book and I would look things up and I'd be like, oh, we need to put some Melaleuca on that. Yeah. And the kids would be like, hey, Mom, I've got a headache. And I'd look through the book and I go, oh, let's try some peppermint or frankincense on that. Yeah. And 6 months later, I went to teach a class, and I went down to the basement and I pulled this box out. And I started looking through the box of stuff that I had taken out of my medicine cabinet. Most of it had been expired for several years. And the most distressing thing was the kids' strawberry flavored mouthwash, which said toxic if swallowed. Oh. And I was like, wait, what? Like, who looks at that?
Yeah,
I hadn't looked at it.
Yeah.
And then you look at your toothpaste, and toothpaste has neurotoxins in it. So it says if more than a pea size is swallowed, call poison control. Well, every single day you're brushing your teeth, the fastest way to get something into your bloodstream is sublingually, which is under your tongue. You can't spit that out fast enough. So every day we are slowly poisoning ourselves just by normal household things that you're doing to be healthy, right? Like it's important to brush your teeth. Yep. It's kind of a big thing.
And so this is what you're talking about. Like this is one of the things that you talk about with your workshops, or like two people is like detoxifying some of their surroundings.
Yes, exactly. So I pulled the stuff out and I'm looking at it, but because I had the book, that was the one thing that my friend Rebecca really did great for me, is she gave me this book and then was also like, hey, if you have any questions, call. But I'm pretty self-sufficient, so I just looked everything up. Yeah. And like I said, we never went back. I haven't used a single over-the-counter medicine in over 6.5 years.
And that's six and a half years is when you got started and when you got involved.
Yeah, in February. Wow, so February of 2000. What was that? 12 or 13? I'd have to look back, but
yeah.
No, it was 2013 because I was in the accident in 2012.
Yeah. I'm assuming you have seen a regular doctor, like you've been to the doctor. What is their response to this?
Yeah, so here's the other thing. A lot of people are like, oh, I use essential oils so I don't go to the doctor. Please go to the doctor. It's really important to get your yearly checkup. And I actually have a really cool doctor who is like, well, I don't understand essential oils, but they seem to be working for you. Yeah. So I don't go in. I mean, I go in for a regular checkup. Yep. But I rarely go in for anything else.
Sure.
The other thing is I get people who will message me, like, my child has 105 fever. What oil do I use? And I'm like, oh, my gosh, grab that child, run to the ER while you're putting peppermint oil down their spine. Yeah. Like, it's so important. Or I broke my arm. What essential oils do I use? Well, you get it set and then a cast. And on the other arm, we're going to put frankincense and wintergreen and probably a couple other things because your body is sympathetic. So we can treat the arm that is cast by putting it on the other arm in the same spot.
Interesting.
But yeah, using a little common sense. Yeah. Go to the doctor. It's important. Yeah. The other thing with mental health, I get a lot of people who will say, well, you can just use essential oils and you don't have to use medications. And I say, no, that's not true. You use what your body needs. So my husband is on a couple of different medications for his mental health. We've been able to get them down because he uses the vitamins. So we were able to reduce some of his medications, but he has a chemical imbalance. Yeah. And so using prescription medications and doTerra's vitamins and some essential oils, he is at a really healthy place with his mental health.
Yeah, which is awesome. Like that's great. And it's not a, like we kind of touched on towards the beginning there, it's like there's no magic bullet, and like using common sense and it's like if you just eat all one thing in your diet, like you're going to be lacking in other areas. You can't just abandon all nutrients. It's taking care of yourself. And I like that that's like your take on it. And I think that that's one of the things that I really appreciated when I was at, your workshop, was some of those different things. It wasn't like, hey, you don't need to just like switch everything over and this is like the only thing you need to do. It's like, use common sense. You need to, take care of your environment, like you mentioned earlier, of removing some of these toxins and like just helping your body do what it naturally does. And I love that.
Exactly. There are things that I do suggest is, getting off of processed food, eating.
Yeah, I suggest that too.
more, eating healthier and making sure that you're on the more organic side for sure.
Yeah.
Now people, it's so funny because people will have me meet them and they'll like take me to a vegan restaurant or something like that. And I gotta tell you, I love meat. Don't take away my bacon.
Yeah, same. But there's a difference between, just for me and for my wife Dana, it's something that I really find important is, man, I get as much vegetables and raw vegetables. It's like It's not just canned corn and canned green beans. It's, hey, I'm gonna go and grab real vegetables from the produce section at your local store. And I think that there's no supplement for that natural, the real product, the real thing, and
right, and
the best way to get all the nutrients you can.
As much as possible, when you are eating meat, buy from a local farmer and know what practices that they use for taking care of their animals.
Yeah, absolutely. And some of those things, I tell you, there's two of us in our family, and I totally get it. There was a time before I moved to Minnesota. I lived in San Diego. I made $8.50 an hour working for a nonprofit, and we didn't have a lot of extra income. And I was young, and I didn't know as much as I do now about my health and wellness. And I was buying a lot of processed foods, and I had so many health issues. I just didn't feel good. I had heartburn and indigestion, and I just didn't feel good, and a lot of aches and pains and inflammation in my body. I know that's what it was now. When I look back, is I had all these just consequences to the food that I was putting in my body. And as I've changed my diet and changed my lifestyle over the last several years, it's been amazing just to kind of see how, man, I wake up and I feel better. And I was a wrestling coach in Minnesota. I don't know if you knew that, but I didn't. That's being awesome. A wrestling coach, you have to get in there and you have to be pretty active with your athletes as well. And man, when I first started off, there was a couple years that every day after practice, I'd wake up the next day and my body just hurt so bad. And, I was still eating a lot of processed foods and a lot of that garbage and junk. And man, it was crazy to see when I kind of switched to, more natural foods, just, real food, real vegetables, real, not buying the frozen burritos in the frozen burrito section, but actually just eating good whole, just a balanced, diet that I just noticed such a difference in how my body felt. And when I was able to get that under control and kind of reevaluate what I was consuming and putting in, I just noticed that how much better I felt as a whole.
Yeah. Cooking has become a lost art, unfortunately.
I know. Crazy, right?
So that's one of the things that I try to make sure that my kids know how to cook a proper meal. And
I love cooking.
Yeah.
I
love eating, actually.
Oh, well, I love that too.
One of my favorites.
So, yeah. Likewise. I'm right there with you. So you started doing that. You started taking away, you put your medications in a box and you pulled them back out later. Where did you go from there? What was your next steps? Or how did you get into, selling and kind of advocating?
Well, what happened is, right away, just after, so I rolled that past tense on my neck. It was a Sunday morning, and then I went to my chiropractor on Tuesday, and I walked into the room and she looked at me. I hadn't said anything. She goes, "You look different." I said, "I know, right?" She said, "You're you." I said, "I know." And she goes, "What have you been doing different?" And I said, "I don't know." And I rolled this past tense on her neck. And pretty soon, people who had seen me the previous 4 months just be in this dark funk and in pain, they were like, "What are you doing?" I said, I don't know. These oils are kind of cool. And so then people started asking me to teach them about it, because I had started, I had the book and I'm reading, and my first class was literally the funniest class because I like opened up this book and I start like reading words that I couldn't even pronounce, like mass spectrometry or gas chromatography. And I was like, you know what? Forget this. I said, here's lemon oil. It smells amazing and you can put it in your water.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what I know about it right now. It helps you detox. And then I passed around the frankincense and I was like, well, they say when in doubt, put on frankincense. And I kind of pointed out a couple of things, like it's antibacterial, antifungal, it helps reduce inflammation. And then I was signing people up. Like I had no clue what I was doing.
Yeah.
But I loved the results I was getting and how we could switch everything in our house so that we were doing something good.
Yeah.
And the more I started looking at doTerra as a company, seeing that they're doing something called co-impact sourcing, which they are taking care of the farmers and working with them, not giving them a hand out, but a hand up.
Yeah. I love that. That was one of the big things I remember you talking about, and I really love that as well.
Yeah, one of the things they want to do, doTerra wants to be known as the company that gets the most people out of debt. I was like, that's pretty cool. I want to be out of debt.
Yeah.
And then just this last year, they have a really long, company mission statement, and they finally got it down to a 1-sentence statement, which is pursue what's pure. And I was like, I love that.
Yeah, that's cool.
So I started... going back almost 7 years ago, I started researching and just switching everything over, and then started teaching. And the more I taught, the more I realized how I needed to learn, and started going to lots of workshops and for myself, and then turning around and taking that information back to people that I was helping.
Yeah.
And that's how I got to where I am today.
That's awesome. And I just saw you had posted, I think, something this week or yesterday maybe about doTerra just committed to donating $5 million to cancer research.
Yes.
Is that correct?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. We are now partnered with Huntsman Cancer Research Center.
Right. That's what
doTerra is also creating holistic and allopathic clinics where they are teaching medical doctors to prescribe essential oils as the first line of defense. And that part where I don't go to the doctor?
Yeah.
doTerra said that's a problem. You should go to your doctor.
Yeah.
Let them know what you're doing and be on a health care routine where we have amazing sick care in our country.
Yeah.
But we do not have amazing health care.
It's true.
And so doTerra is interrupting that. They are like, okay, we are going to help have health care, and where you're going to have a half hour or an hour block where you actually get to sit with your doctor. Because right now, on average, you see your doctor for 7 minutes, even though you are in that clinic for probably an hour.
Yeah, at least.
At least, exactly. And being able to talk over your health routine with your medical doctor.
Yeah.
It's so cool what they're doing. So I highly suggest you check out the Prime Meridian clinics.
All right, I'm going to write this down.
And I think
Say it one more time. How do you spell that?
Prime Meridian.
Prime Meridian.
Yeah, they have I'll look at the website because it is pmhclinics.com.
Are those all over the country or?
Not yet. They just announced them last year. They have 3 of them are open, but they're slated to be all over. So the more people that go to this pmhclinics.com and say, hey, I want a clinic in my area, the faster that we'll be able to get clinics in those areas.
Cool. Where is doTerra based out of? What area?
Pleasant Grove, Utah.
Utah. Okay, cool.
Mm-hmm.
I was wondering about that.
Yeah. It's like I said, I love the company. I love what they're doing with their healthcare initiative, but also with the co-impact sourcing and their Healing Hands Foundation. They are just doing amazing work. We are the largest supporter of Operation Underground Railroad that is saving kids from sex trafficking. Not only getting them out of it, but rehabilitating them.
Yeah,
so
there was an oil that was
yes,
that was designed. I remember, I think Dana bought it, and it helped support people coming out of sex trafficking and out of that environment. What was that one called?
It's called Hope.
Hope.
And it's $20 to purchase it, and your full $20 purchase price goes to Operation Underground Railroad. So cool. doTerra, with their Healing Hands Foundation, the 7 founders of the company pay all operation and administrator fees. So when I donate, like, let's say I'm going to donate $20 somewhere.
Yeah.
Most of the time, depending on where you're donating it, like Goodwill, it's 5 cents on the dollar, which is ridiculous, right? But with doTerra, your full donation amount goes to the Healing Hands Foundation, which is awesome.
Yeah, that's awesome. I wrote that down as well. Hope, which is the $20, and it goes towards what's it called? Healing?
Well, it goes to the Healing Hands Foundation, but Hope specifically goes to Operation Underground Railroad.
Okay, cool.
And then we're also the largest supporter of Days for Girls. Days for Girls goes into third world countries and teaches girls and women about their body, about their period, and gives them reusable period packs, which is helpful because that is helping girls to stay in school. Because during the 7 days that they would have their period, a lot of them have to go to what is considered the shame shack, right? They have to go to the shack and they sit on a piece of cardboard. Well, it's just...
Yeah, it's not a good thing. And that's called Days for Girls?
Days for Girls.
Cool. Mm-hmm. Sorry, I'm taking notes as I'm going here, so I can
check
this stuff out myself.
We're strategic partners. Yeah, no, we're strategic partners with Operation Underground Railroad, Days for Girls, Mentors International, and then different wellness advocates, which is what doTerra calls the people who choose to do this as a business and build their teams.
Yeah.
Different wellness advocates also have things that they're working on. So that's on the doTerra website. You can check it out.
And you have something yourself, right?
I do. I have it in the works. I actually just got the bank account opened this last week. The papers are going in. The website should be up in about 2 to 3 weeks.
Cool.
But it's called Signs of Hope International. And what I actually was involved with Signs of Hope International a couple of years ago. They closed 5 years ago, so it was further back than that. But my daughter and I were able to go to Ghana, Africa twice with Signs of Hope to work with and tutor deaf children.
Amazing.
And what's really cool is we were with a group that also we had a lot of deaf people with us. And what's cool is when you take a successful deaf individual and you introduce them to deaf children in third world countries, you actually open up those kids' world. Mm. We had a nurse with us on one of the trips, and the kids would sign and they're like, well, what do you do? And she says, I'm a nurse. And they said, no, you're deaf. And she says, yes, I'm deaf and I'm a nurse. And all of a sudden you could see this light bulb go on in their brain. Like, I could be a nurse too?
Yeah.
Yes.
Examples
you can be whatever.
Of, yeah.
So Signs of Hope closed 5 years ago. And so my daughter and I are in the process of reopening it. Oh. And we're going to have a little bit bigger scope. We're going to work with more than just the school in Ghana, but that's where we're starting, is opening back communication with this school in Ghana. Our first trip is going to be June of 2020. And we are going to do Days for Girls presentations at 2, possibly 3 deaf schools in Ghana.
Wow, that's so cool.
And then the scope gets bigger from there. Because not all deaf people want to go to Ghana. Not all deaf people want to go to a school, but maybe they want to work with Operation Underground Railroad. Yeah. Maybe they want to work with Days for Girls or Mentors International. And isn't it cool if we can help them work where they want to work and help facilitate the communication barrier? So there's this communication barrier. So even deaf people in the U.S. have a problem in their own country because of the communication barrier.
Yeah.
And we want to just create equality in communication.
Yeah, I had one of my guests, she was a gal I went to college with. She's a sign language interpreter, and she we kind of talked about that on the podcast a little bit, just the culture, the deaf culture, and I think that's just a really important conversation. It's just like so many different things that take place just around the world in general. It's when we just don't know things, we're like reluctant, or we put up this guard and we like don't ask questions about it, and we get like scared to like talk to people or things. And when you don't know and how to interact with people, and you don't know, when there's these just unknowns, not ignorance in a sense, but it's like in so many ways it is, but I feel like ignorance is like a negative connotation to it. It's just lack of understanding, lack of knowledge, and we intend to raise our guards up and to kind of like keep people out. And I think that the deaf culture and the deaf community is one of those groups that just a lot of misunderstanding. And I think that the more we can understand, the more we can become one and kind of bridge that gap.
Exactly. And that's what I want to help do, is bridge that gap.
Yeah.
I listened to that podcast and I was like, ooh,
yeah,
I need to get you to introduce me to her. So.
Yeah, we'll do. Yeah, she's awesome. She's really awesome, and she's got a big heart. She's a really empathetic gal, and Becky, she's one of my good friends. So yeah, absolutely, I'll introduce you guys for sure. And I've got a couple other people in the Minnesota area that I would like to introduce you to as well, that have they're interpreting, and I worked in the special education world, so. Definitely.
That would be fantastic. I'd love that.
Yeah, absolutely. And so when you get your website up, please let me know, and we'll make sure to help spread the news and spread awareness, and help you guys with your first trip, and let us know how we can help here at Crazy Face Uno. I would love to be a part of helping you get things going.
That'd be awesome. I'd appreciate that.
I'm excited. Yeah, absolutely. How did you get involved specifically with ASL, American Sign Language, and interpreting? You had mentioned that that's kind of what you were doing before your accident. And I know you've got a little bit of a backstory and a little story to that. Do you mind telling us about that?
Yeah. People always ask me, why did you learn sign language? And did you have a family member? No. When I was about 8 years old, I saw someone signing, and I was like, what is that? I just thought it was the most beautiful thing ever.
Kind of like Becky's story.
Yeah. So you just see it and you're like, this is cool. And it's like, the secret language or whatever. And when I was 16, because I took a sign language class, and then I convinced my high school, because at the time they did not have post-secondary options. And especially not for sign language. They didn't consider it a language back then.
Yeah.
Which now just super ages me, but that's okay. But I convinced my high school to let my parents pay for a college class in sign language, and for it to count as my foreign language, because I had tried French, and my French teacher in 9th grade had the worst Southern accent. So it's like, prenez les papiers, je vais à la corbeille. And I'm like, no, French is supposed to be really pretty, right? And I couldn't get Spanish. I didn't want to do German. But I just kept going back to sign language. And so they said, all right, if your parents are going to pay for it, we'll count it.
Yeah.
And that's what started me. My dad actually went to the first classes with me.
Cool. That's really cool.
Name, it was actually really fun. My dad's name was Stuart, so he went by Stu, and he always told me his middle name was Pid when I was little. So I would introduce him to people. This is my dad, Stu Pid Riley. I was kind of clueless when I was little.
Yeah.
And so his sign name, he chose the sign name of Stupid. That's
funny.
But he went to my first class with me to support me in learning that. And then when I went to college, I was a theater major my first time in college, and I took a sign language class and just loved it. And then got married, had a couple kids, so I wasn't going to school while I was doing that. And then went back to college, and I think I took ASL 2 probably 4 times, because when you walk away from it, you kind of lose that skill, and then you come back. And and around that time I went, when my kids were, I want to say my youngest was, I think I had 1, 3, 5. My daughter was about 6 or 7. Anyway, not that matters, but we found this children's program called Signing Time.
Okay.
A Signing Time with Alex and Leah. And there were 3 DVDs at the time, and we just fell in love with it because it's a really great way to learn sign language.
Yeah.
Sign language. So the woman's name is Rachel Coleman, and she created these DVDs so that her family could be able to communicate with her daughter Leah, who is deaf.
Yeah.
Very and cool. I fell in love with these DVDs, and they had this signing time family camp. And my husband said, hey, you and Ellie should go to that.
Yeah.
And Ellie, my daughter, was 7 at the time. And so we went, and she and Leah became really good friends. And through the next several years, I stayed in contact with Rachel, and that's how actually we went on the trip to Ghana with Signs of Hope. So it's kind of
cool.
This big,
so was it's kind of how you got introduced to some of these different things that you're involved with now. It's like a full circle.
Yeah, actually.
Yeah.
It's even better. Rachel's sister Rebecca is the one that introduced me to doTerra.
Oh, wow. Yeah. Man, it was just meant to be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So just through the Signing Time Foundation, we did some things with them. And again, that led into Signs of Hope. And so when my youngest was in 1st grade, I was like, you know what? I'm going to go back to school full time, and I want to be a sign language interpreter.
Yeah.
And I did. I went to school. It was really funny because you'd have these college kids that you're there with, and I'm obviously much older than them.
Mm-hmm.
And they're complaining about having to work their 20-hour-a-week job and do school and how it's too tough. And I was like, oh, try 4 kids.
Yeah. Listen up. Yeah. It's, it's a full-time job right there. So
yes,
it takes more than 20 hours, that's for sure, to raise 4 kids and to take care of a family like that. That's a lot. I look at it now, like I look at going back to school, like the idea of that is just like a lot. So when I hear of people that have gone back, even regardless of what your age is, but it's just crazy to me to think of how hard people are working out there, and especially like your story right there. I mean, that's just it's so much work to go back to school. It takes so much. It's just a different discipline,
Yes.
And there's like different. I've talked about it on the podcast recently. It's just interesting to think about when I look back in high school, college days, like you just didn't have the responsibilities that you do now. You know what I mean? Like it's the fallout to the decisions or the choices you made back then were so much smaller than they are now. And I think that's the difference of like, man, if I didn't go to work, if I didn't, I didn't take care of my responsibilities, there's bigger consequences that fall out, like taking care of your family and making sure that, your kids are being taken care of, or, financially, like your house, your mortgage, your rent, your whatever it is. There's just so much bigger implications to life nowadays than there used to be when you were in high school and college, and you didn't think about it through that lens. It was just more about that present time. And it's crazy to think of as I get older. Man, I'm aging myself, but like as I get older and I look back, and it's that perspective that's changed, and it's different. It's just interesting.
Yes. Well, which leads into our stress cycle.
Yeah. Right.
Yes.
Yeah, it's there's just a whole nother world when you start to get a little older, and your responsibilities they just grow. They don't get any shorter and smaller. They just grow.
Yeah, exactly. And that's okay.
Yeah, you and you've been, I love watching your videos, if you go on, and I'll be tagging you in those, and so people can find you. But I love that you sign, the same thing as you're talking through your videos about the different oils or the different projects, the different things you're kind of promoting at the time, and you're signing those. And I think that's really cool. And I think it's really just an awesome piece that, it's incorporating and inclusive to the deaf community and people that need sign to communicate.
Yeah, I do that in, so you're not going to be able to tag that. That's a closed group for my,
kidding. I won't be.
No, it's all good. It's for my doTerra people.
Right.
When I know that someone's going to be on And I'm working on a couple of different things for teaching some classes and having them interpreted.
Okay.
It's been more than 7 years since about 7 years since I've been a sign language interpreter.
Sure.
So my skills right now, like I can converse fairly well. My receptive skills, I'm working on them because again, if you're not using it daily, you kind of lose that.
For sure.
But I thought you were talking about I do something called Tip and a Snap on Instagram.
Oh, and I think I maybe have seen that as well. So who knows?
Well, yeah, it's where I use a Snapchat filter and the, weird squeaky voice. And I give you information about, taking care of your body and using essential oils and how that works. And so that is open, and that's on my Facebook page and on my Instagram page.
I'll make sure that we're following you on there, and we can tag you that way as well, so we can get more people to find out about you and maybe support you as a wellness advocate for doTerra as well.
That would be awesome. Like I said, I love just being able to help people with their health and wellness needs and just feeling better in general. Yeah.
Well, and again, it's like, if you have questions, it's like, it's worth giving a shot, I've used the ones that I use every day is, On Guard, like I mentioned. I have the Motivate. I don't know what all the benefits are, but I really like the smell of it. It's awesome.
I love Motivate.
So I rub this on like it's, I have more Motivate than anything. I rub it on like it's lotion. I love it. It's great. It smells delicious. It smells so good. It's got a minty, I don't know. It just smells so good. And I love lemon. I love lemon, putting it in a diffuser, or like you said, water. I've actually even used some of like Orange Bliss or
the Citrus Bliss. That is my happy place.
I've used that and I've used some of the different ones in like cocktails. It's like, I know it's so simple, but it's like you just flavor up a cocktail with it, I don't know.
I just taught a class in Colorado called I Have Mixed Drinks About Feelings.
Yeah, there you go.
And it was an emotions and essential oil class where there was the option to imbibe in some cocktails that were mixed with oils. Yes,
it's great. I've done it myself. I've used the lemon. I've used some of the different ones that I have. Lime. I've used the lime a few times as well. And they taste good. They smell good.
Yeah, if you've ever had a White Russian, you can make it a spicy White Russian by adding a drop of cinnamon oil or a toothpick swirl of peppermint. Do not do a full drop of peppermint oil.
Peppermint's strong. That's a strong one.
Oh, yeah. No, literally, like you stick a toothpick in the top of the thing and swirl it in the drink, and it still will be very strong, but like a full drop was... way too much.
Yeah, peppermint is... I love peppermint, and lemon is one that I'll use in a diffuser, and... Breathe. I've used Breathe a lot. If I've had
Don't put Breathe in your cocktails.
Don't put Breathe in a cocktail.
No.
I don't think it would taste very good. But it's great, like, just on your chest. If you've got, like, a chest, tightening of your chest or stuffy nose.
I love the way that doTerra names their blends because On Guard supports your immune system. Breathe helps you to breathe, whether it's because you're having respiratory distress or maybe you're having major anxious feelings. Breathe literally helps you to breathe. It calms that amygdala down again.
Yeah.
It Motivate.
It just opens up your sinuses like big time.
Motivate gets you up off the couch, right? It helps with that. Peace and Forgive. Again, peace is going to help calm that mind chatter, help you have a more peaceful day. Forgive. I use Forgive over my heart quite a bit, especially when I'm working through some troublesome emotions. But Forgive is one that I think everybody should use daily because we all need forgiveness, whether it's to forgive someone else or yourself.
Yeah,
so often we forget that we need to forgive ourselves just from silly things that happen.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm my biggest enemy, I swear. So yeah, I need to check that one out. I have Thinker and Calmer, which I know you had mentioned are they're technically a children's blend. Is that what you said?
Yes. Okay. So the kids blends, I love the kids blends. So we do have an adult focus blend. It's called, it's called In Tune, but it has patchouli in it, and it stinks.
Yeah. Not
so
a big
not
patchouli
all essential
fan.
oils. Oh no, it smells like dirty hippies.
Yeah, it does smell like hippie. I like the smell of it, but not necessarily on me. I like when other people have it around me.
Oh, that's so funny. Either you love it or you hate it. I'm one of those people that I'm like, oh, stinking patchouli. But they came out with the kids thinker.
Yeah.
And it smells fantastic. And I use it for me to focus.
Yep.
They have one that's called Brave. And that is my favorite one in the whole thing.
You mentioned that one before. I need to check that one out too. I put Thinker on, sometimes before I do a podcast. I almost always put Motivate on before I put a podcast. And just I put it on my little mustache right below my nose so I can take a big old whiff of it. And put some Thinker on too. And I have, we bought, I don't know if it was a special one or what it was, but it's called One.
That was a special. That is one of my favorites.
Yeah.
If it ever comes back, buy like 5 of them, which is what I did the last time.
Yeah.
One was a specific blend that was for doTerra's conventions gala, and they gave it away at gala, and it was I just love it.
Yeah. So, yeah. And I'll put that on my feet. Just it's supposed to be grounding. Is that what you said?
Mm-hmm.
How it's supposed to be.
It's very grounding and helps you feel at one with yourself.
Yeah. I use the calmer at night, it's like a lavenderish smell and kind of calms
that's
you before
the kids' restful blend.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And then I've got the past tense, of course, and I also we bought some of the deep blue.
Which is deep blue rub?
Yeah. Well, we have like the little...
the oil?
The soothing blend. Yeah, the oil. Mm-hmm. But it's a strong one, but I love it. It's definitely, like, that one, I know it's supposed to be more intense than past tense, but I like that better than past tense, personally. Of course, I notice the effects of it, but it takes, aches and pains away right away, and...
Yes. So here's the cool thing. When it comes aromatically, I like the smell of past tense. My husband likes the smell of deep blue
better.
I like
deep blue. I love the smell of deep blue. It smells so good.
We both agree on the smell for deep blue rub. Okay. So deep blue rub is like a cream that you put on, and it has a full 5 ml bottle of deep blue oil in it.
Sure. I haven't got that. I haven't tried that, but...
so if you have major pain or inflammation relief that you're needing, putting a drop of deep blue and then a little pea size of deep blue rub over the top of it, or using past tense and then putting deep blue rub over the top of it.
Yep.
Amazing combination.
Yeah. Yeah, I could see that. I've done both. I love the roll-ons. Like, I have all the roll-ons next to me right now, pretty much. They're great. They're perfect. Like, you just whip them out and easy to apply. You don't have to like overthink it too much. And the oils, they're a little more concentrated, right? Because they put the MCT oil, or they put the...
No, so the oil, there's no MTC oil. The oils themselves are straight, either singles or they're blends. There's only a couple blends that have something added to it, like Citrus Bliss has a little vanilla absolute, as does Serenity. It adds that sweet
Those are the only ones?
to it.
Okay.
Those two have vanilla absolute. Balance has fractionated coconut oil. The ones in the rollers that you're talking about,
I thought On Guard did, because I just noticed the difference between like the On Guard oil is so much more potent. It's like strong.
The On Guard Touch. So the rollers that say Touch on them have fractionated coconut oil added to them.
Yeah, okay. That's what I was talking about. I use that like on my face or like on blemishes and stuff. And it's like not quite as intense. If I use like the oil itself, it's like, woo, okay.
Yes. They have been scientifically diluted so that they are safe enough to even put on children's skin.
Gotcha. Which makes sense.
Anytime you're using essential oils on small children and like elderly people, their skin is more sensitive. Okay. And so you have to make sure you dilute. This is why I say, please come to a class or check out my RonaiBrumett.com. I have a calendar there, and a lot of times my classes will also be on Zoom.
All right. So you said
and when I have a Zoom class,
RONAI,
B as in boy, RUM as in Michael, E as in elephant, T as in Tom, T as in Tom. So RonaiBrumett.com.
Okay.
And that is my website. I have a little blog. I'm getting better about blogging more often.
Cool.
But I like to, you'll see my tips and a snap are on there because my Instagram automatically goes to my Facebook, or not my Facebook, my
Your
website.
Cool. Mm-hmm. Yeah, perfect. Yeah, I'll tag that so people can go check that out as well.
Very cool.
That way people will have the ability to go check out your blog and learn a little bit more if they can.
Yeah.
What are other ways? I'm all about plug-in, so plug away. If you want to plug anything, we've talked about Signs of Hope International and your foundation that you're getting going. What are some other ways people can contact you and be in touch with you?
Well, I do the first wellness consult. I do a wellness consult to kind of check in with them for free. If you're on my team, which means if you choose in for essential oils, I have a team of people so if you can get a wholesale account with me because I get a lot of people are like, well, I don't want to sell this. I just want to use it. I'm like, great. Yeah. I will help you with that.
Which is what we have.
So,
yeah.
Yes. So if you choose in to get a wholesale account with doTerra, you're on my team. I do free wellness consults. If you are not on my team, let's say you're on somebody else's team or you just want some information, I do charge $125 an hour, which I make sure you get full value for that, and I help you with your health and wellness needs.
Cool.
I kind of specialize because I have a son with a suppressed immune system. Mm-hmm. So over the 20 years of working with his immune system, I've learned a lot of things, and so I kind of specialize in autoimmune.
Cool.
And pain and mood management because that is a lot of what I do. So I love working with people, and we can do that over the phone, over Skype, over Zoom.
Yeah.
Because my biggest thing, yes, I'm out to sell you something. I'm going to be super honest about that.
Yeah, that's your business.
Because that's how I get paid.
Yeah.
But my biggest thing is making sure you are educated on how to use these products, because when you're educated on how to use the products, all of a sudden you're like, oh, I really do need this.
Yeah. Yeah. So, and you can reap the benefits of it versus, it's not just use it and not get the benefits and hope you buy again. It's like you actually believe in, you believe in what the product can do for you. And
yes.
I think that genuineness and that authenticity is something that I really appreciated about you myself. And you weren't just out to sell. You weren't just out to sell us, a bag of tricks, but it was, you're realistic about it. You're going to tell us the truth. You're going to tell the benefits and what you need to, how to use it and how to get the best experience by using the products that you're selling. And I appreciate that.
Yeah. One of the things I didn't share here yet, but was talking a little bit about my son.
Yeah. Go for it. I remember that was one of the parts of the story that at your workshop that you had told about.
Yeah. So when I started using oils in February of 2013, he was 13. And that fall he turned 14. But he literally told me, keep your chemicals away from me, as he was eating a jelly donut. Oh, super fun. At the time, so when my son was 4, he was diagnosed with hypogammaglobulinemia, which is his body
said.
Did not...
You've said that a couple times. Yeah.
I can't spell it.
There you go. Wow.
His body does not produce enough white blood cells. Mm. And so they put him on a prophylactic antibiotic along with Singular, Zyrtec, Asmax, Advair, Flonase, Zantac. Like they were constantly adding different things. And so for 10 years, he was on all of these things. And when he would have a breakthrough illness, we would go to a Z-Pack or 2 Z-Packs in a row. And when that wouldn't work, we'd go to Augmentin or Cefazil, and we'd be nebbing him every 2 to 4 hours.
Yeah.
Like it was just this process to keep this kid alive.
Mm-hmm.
And so that fall, after I started using oils, let me back up. When he was 12, he was also diagnosed with Asperger's, ADHD, and attentiveness, oppositional defiance disorder, high levels of anxiety, insomnia, and a genius level IQ.
Perfect.
Oh, yeah. So
quite the combo.
Yes, that the oppositional defiance disorder with the genius level IQ. Really, he did know most things, but he just had to be a stinker about it.
Yeah.
And they say that they take things out on the ones that they love the most.
Mm-hmm.
So I know that he loved me the most.
Yeah,
because he was
you
the
got
hardest
it. You
on
got
me.
it the worst.
Yes.
Classic.
But we started using the oils. My husband started using the vitamins, and again, we were able to take him off of a couple, but not all of his depression meds, which was super amazing. And then when my son was 14, I get a call from the school and said, "Hey, just so you know, he was a little violent today, and we can't have that happen." So I was like, "Whoa." He had a 504 because of the medical diagnosis, but he couldn't get any services because he was too smart.
What is a 504?
It's a it's been a long time since we've been in school. So a 504 is a plan that you go to the school and you set up this plan with the teachers.
Yeah. Like
and say, hey, you know, he's got a medical diagnosis of Asperger's, ADHD, and attentiveness, oppositional defiance, or like all the things. And generally, they will then issue kind of a plan for how they're going to help you with services, like behavioral
like an IEP.
services. Yes. So he had a 504, but we didn't have an IEP.
Gotcha.
Because he was too smart.
Gotcha.
But he needed behavioral services, and this school didn't offer that.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah, I never heard that phrase actually, and I was like, "What's that? What's a 504?" And I think it's probably mostly because most of the students, almost all of the students that I worked with, all had IEPs. So
yes. So because we had a 504, they couldn't kick him out of school.
Gotcha.
So he could be as violent as he wanted.
Yeah.
But in his defense, so this kid had bullied him since second grade. They were in sixth grade, and he finally lashed out, grabbed the back of his neck, and like squeezed really hard because this kid was now bullying his best friend.
Yeah.
So I'm like, okay, kid, I get that.
Yeah.
Anyway, so the school
like
calls me.
It's a catch-22 almost, because you're like, yeah, like I get it, but also like.
Yep, exactly. The school calls and says, hey, we sent him home, but this can't happen again. And I was like, oh, no, you call me. Like, I come get him. And but I open up the door. I know his triggers. So I was super careful. And I said, hey, come here. I want to talk to you. He goes off. He's like, I should have broke his neck. I should have. And just like spewing this hate out, coming at me. At 14, he's now taller than I am because I'm just under 5'5".
Yeah.
And I said, you stop right there. And he stopped, thankfully, and I grabbed my phone off my hip, and I called my husband, and I said, you need to come home right now, and we need to commit him.
Yeah.
Because all I could see is, here's the next kid who's going to go shoot up a school.
Yeah.
And so my husband gets home, coat in hand, we go down to talk to him, and we said, look, this is not your fault. You didn't do anything wrong. I mean, you don't reach out and hurt people, but you are chemically imbalanced. So you're not in control of yourself right now.
Yeah.
So we're going to take you up to the hospital. We love you. We're not going to let you destroy your life.
Yeah.
And we just like really expressed that like he was chemically imbalanced. It's not his fault.
Yeah.
And we said, we're going to take you up to the hospital. And then my husband started talking to him about the vitamins and the oils. And we said, look, we're going to give you a choice. You can take the vitamins along with some oils that we choose without complaint.
That's
or
key.
You can go to yes, or you can go to the hospital. What you choose.
Yeah.
And he crosses his arms and he looks and he goes, I'll take the vitamins. And we're like, no, without complaint.
Yeah. Check the attitude, young man.
Yes, exactly. Oh, well, the oppositional defiance disorder,
right,
man, that can be. So we started him on the vitamins with doTerra, along with TerraZyme. TerraZyme puts the proper enzymes in your belly so you can actually digest food properly.
Okay. And
the probiotic, because 70 to 80% of kids on the spectrum have belly issues. Well, 80% of your immune system and 80% of your serotonin is produced in your belly. But 100% of kids, I guess I should say 99.9% of kids with autoimmune disorder have belly issues. Because your immune system is right there. And if you don't have a good immune system, like he was the gassiest kid.
Yeah. Well, and gut health is just an underrated like thing that people don't talk about. And it's exactly what you're talking about. And, different, I'm sure the vitamin, and I know like the digestion Did I say it right? Like I've used it before in like the little sample deal that we had, but I haven't used it in a while. And we did try the probiotics as well. But just gut health in general is just a huge thing that is like just not talked about enough, I don't think, in just modern day society. So
exactly.
It comes back to like a lot of what we were talking about before with the processed foods and, you know, the jelly donut that your son was having, I'm sure.
And he told me to keep my chemicals away from him.
Yeah. Ironic, right?
Yeah. That's what I always say when I teach this class. But so we started him on the vitamins, the Terrazyme, the PB Assist, and then we put Balance on the bottom of his feet. Balance helps to balance your mood, balance your blood. It smells amazing. It's very woodsy. It's our grounding blend. My husband actually uses it as aftershave. It's phenomenal.
See, that's what I do with the Motivate. I use that as my aftershave. So I need to try to balance. I'm writing that down.
The one thing to be careful with the Motivate, it has citrus oils in it, and it can make you sun sensitive. So I just have to mention that if you're putting it on your skin and then going out in full sun.
Now that I'm in Florida, I actually generally rinse off before if I'm going to the beach or something. I am very cautious of that because I have noticed that as well. Like I've walked the dog and had that on my arm, like kind of in the armpit of my arm, and had like a little bit of a sun response to that. And I was like, not going to make that mistake. We'll make sure I rinse that off. So yeah.
Yes.
I would also echo what you just said.
So with him, he's on the vitamins, the Balance on the bottom of his feet, Digestin on his belly, because again, we're helping with that belly issue. And then we have a blend called Peace, and we put that on the back of his neck, like up at the base of his skull. Yeah. And it helps to calm mind chatter and just be peaceful.
Nice.
And the cool thing was 2 weeks after we started this protocol, we're sitting down to watch a movie as a family, and he goes, "Hey Mom, come cuddle with me." He was 14, tactile issues, and he had stopped asking me to cuddle with him when he was 6. Wow. And so I jumped and I sat down and
heck yeah.
was, yep, I'm right here. And after about 5 minutes, he moved, but that's okay. I got 5 minutes.
Yeah.
And it was so cool. And from there, we weaned him off. We took about 6 months because you have to do it slowly. We weaned him off of all over-the-counter and prescription medications.
Wow.
And it has been, over 5 years.
Yeah.
And
how old is your son now?
Almost 6 years. Yeah, no, 6 years. He's 20. In the last 6 years, he has only had 4 antibiotics, and each time was because he stopped taking the vitamins.
Is he like sold himself? Is he like asked for them now? Or?
He actually has his own wholesale account.
Oh, wow.
And he purchases his vitamins, and
That's
he
awesome.
won't do without the DDR Prime because he's really well read, and DDR Prime is for cellular health.
Okay.
And there's some really cool research.
Prime.
DDR Prime. Yeah. D as in dog. Yeah.
DDR Prime. I gotta check that one out. I haven't heard of that one, I don't think.
And the Breathe. So whenever he starts to get a little bit of a cough, he will go immediately into this barky cough. And he actually, just a couple of weeks ago, he got sick, and he got to the point where I was like, okay, I think we should probably take you and go get an antibiotic. And he goes, Mom, I got this. And he upped his On Guard intake and his DDR Prime, and using several different oils, using Breathe in his hand like an inhaler.
Yeah.
I actually have a little YouTube video that shows you how to do that.
Okay, cool.
Because I want to make sure that people know how to use oils.
Yeah.
So,
that's awesome.
But yeah, that people always ask, does this stuff really work? And I say, yes, it has been life-changing and life-saving in my house.
That's so cool. Ronai, thank you so much for coming on the show. I really appreciate it. I love the stories. I love, I've been using it, like I said, and I love it. I've seen the benefits in my life, and just with the few that I use routinely, and I think it's cool, and I think it's a great way for people to, whether you think it's a hippie voodoo magic or not, give it a try. I think it's worth giving a try, and check out your website, RONAI BRUMETT.com.
Yes, please.
You can find your website there and get some more information. And again, let me know whenever you've got your website up for Signs of Hope International, and I would love to promote and pump that out as well.
Will do. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you. I really appreciate it. I'm going to close this out here. Is there anything else you'd like to add before we go?
I love your podcast, so thanks for having me on here.
Yeah, absolutely. I appreciate it. Yeah, we're going to continue to build. I think it's important to tell people's story, and everybody's got one. So, and they all matter. So thank you so much for coming on and sharing yours.
Yep, thank you.
Absolutely. All right, everybody. Thank you so much for tuning in. We really appreciate it. Thank you all for listening. If you've enjoyed the show today, visit us on Facebook and Instagram to like and comment on posts. If you want to go above and beyond, get the word out and share the Crazy Face Uno podcast with your friends and family or just random strangers. We're welcome to everyone. Please visit crazyfaceuno.com to buy our merchandise and to donate. Your contribution helps us share more stories like Ronai's today and stories just like yours. Don't forget, go check out RonaiBrumett.com. All right, everybody. Thank you so much. We love you all. Thanks again for listening. Peace.